Today we're going to cover a relatively fascinating topic. It's important, very important, but oddly enough, of the 5 mental faculties that I had mentioned earlier must be developed by one who is interested, who's keen on walking this path and realizing Nibbana. There are 5 mental faculties that have to be developed and is non-negotiable. 5. Earlier we talked about Saddha, Virya, Panya, Sati, and the 5th one, Samadhi. Oddly enough, 4 of them, Saddha, Virya, Panya especially, Sati in particular, people don't argue that they are necessary for realization. People kind of assume, taken for granted, that these are important, critical factors for realization. But then when it comes to Samadhi, invariably I would be asked, must or not? Is it absolutely necessary? Why? So to me, it is rather unusual. I mean, nobody asked me, Panya important or not? Necessary or serious? Panya important, necessary. And then when I say Virya important, nobody asks, serious, must. But why is it when it comes to Samadhi, I get this question, is it really necessary? Or why? So I call it the least understood or the most misunderstood of the mental faculties, okay? Now, sometimes when people are a little bit more au fait with meditation, they are more precise. They don't ask me, is meditation necessary? They ask me, is jhana necessary? More au fait. So, in the mind of these individuals who ask whether jhana was a necessity, they kind of assume that samadhi equals jhana. That is why, instead of saying, is concentration meditation necessary, they ask, is jhana necessary? Okay? And today's talk, I will try to answer all these questions. What is concentration meditation? Is it synonymous with jhana? What is jhana, to begin with? We will also be talking about how. How does samadhi support spiritual growth? Is it absolutely necessary for enlightenment? I deliberately use the word spiritual enlightenment instead of putting in specifics like entering the stream, Nibbana, Arahata. I'm just giving it a broad category of spiritual enlightenment. And then I think we should also talk about how to cultivate and develop samadhi skill. Now, this is not a session to tell you how to develop concentration meditation at length. This is not a meditation class. This is a Dhamma class. So I will only use some information from the sutta to show you what the Buddha said and how he said samadhi is to be developed. Okay? What is samadhi? You all must take picture faster because today I have no clue what's coming up next. So I'll just flip. Okay. Literally, it means concentration. What I'm going to do is to give you a sense of the state of mind that is there when the mind is in samadhi. When the mind is in samadhi, what does it look like? Okay? When we say the mind is concentrated, what we mean is the mind, the attention is focused on one object. Only one object. The mind is alert, energized, energetic, full of clarity, which means to say, if you tell me that when you were doing concentration meditation, you don't know what's going on, it is not the samadhi Buddha talks about. It has to be aware, it has to be alert. It knows what's going on. And the sharper your concentration, a very good chance the more alert you will be Yes, it is possible to become less alert, but when that is happening, you are losing control. If you're doing Samadhi correctly, at some point, you will start to feel good. I call it in varying degree, ranging from, I wanted to characterize an extreme state of happiness, so supremely joyous, to quietly content and peaceful. Meaning to say, if you are doing Samadhi correctly, your mind actually feels happy. How happy it is depends on you. But this joy, this happiness, this delight, it is not mild. It can be very strong. Of course, it can also be very gentle, but it can be very strong. Okay? And it leads to the mind, when the mind is in a state of happiness, when the mind is in the state of happiness, delight, the mind is light, malleable, open, soft. Soft. The mind is soft. Why do you want the mind to be soft? Let me ask you this. Now we do a little experiment. When you are angry, when you are upset, do you know whether your mind is hard or soft? Hard. Sounds like a duck. How many of you would have seen the mind being light when you're angry? Is there a possibility? No. Why do you need the mind to be soft? Because when the mind is soft, only when the mind is soft is the mind open to learning. When the mind is hard, the mind can't learn. You want your mind to be soft so that it can see Dhamma. If your mind is hard, you don't see Dhamma. You just be lucky you're not creating more karma. But you're not seeing Dhamma. Okay? Understand that. When you are in the state of calm, quiet, delight, oddly enough, you're feeling very good. You will feel very confident. Okay? For those of you who are very sharp in your sati, you will start to observe this. You start to feel that you are on the right track, in other words. When your samadhi is good, you feel that you are doing something right. That's the confidence we're talking about. Okay? Unlikely that you will be, if your samadhi is good, it's unlikely that you will go, correct or not? What's going on? Serious? Like that, correct or not? It won't happen like this. If it happens like this, that's not samadhi you're experiencing. I don't know what D, but not samadhi. Okay? And now this one is not quick. It doesn't happen right at the start point. But if you do your meditation correctly and you are very still, very quiet, and you're feeling good, at some point you begin to feel more detached. Detached, the word is not indifference. It's you start to distance yourself from what you are experiencing and you go, it's like this. It's okay, it's just like this. You don't feel, you shouldn't be feeling, whoa, this is something happening. Great that this is happening. It's happening to me. It's me that is happening to. I'm so happy. There must be something very special going on. You have so many words, it's not samadhi. Okay? And it's self-sustaining. It starts like think of it like a car. Think of it like a car hitting fourth gear and it cruises. It should be able to cruise quite nicely. Okay? I am describing a state of mind that is very skilled in the practice of samadhi meditation, concentration meditation. Okay? There seemed to be an assumption that samadhi, right concentration, this is the first time I'm introducing the word samadhi, must mean experiencing jhana. Is this assumption correct? And what is jhana? How did this assumption come about? Do you all know? First, let's show of hand. How many of you assume that samadhi means jhana? How many of you assume that? How many of you say no? How many of you say, I don't know? Wow, bigger crowd. Okay, let me. The reason why this assumption comes about, this synonymity comes about, is because of Buddha himself. In several sutta, this is what the Buddha said. Bhikkhu, what is right concentration? What is Samma Samadhi? Here, secluded from sensual pleasures, secluded from unwholesome states, a bhikkhu enters and dwells in the first jhana, which is accompanied by, I'm going to use the Pali word, vitakka, vichara, piti, and sukha, born of seclusion. I use the translation direct from the book, so the English words are there, but it's Pali word, vitakka, vichara, thought, examination, rapture, piti, happiness, sukha, born of seclusion. I will not go into explaining what this means now, because I will be talking about it later. I'm just showing you the evidence of why people say that Samma Samadhi has to be jhana, because the Buddha says so. And Buddha says so, must be so. Okay, this is what Buddha had said, must be so. But you notice, the sharper ones among you will notice that I divided the page into two, meaning got another part lah. But interestingly, Buddha also used this formulation. What, monks, is the faculty of concentration? Here, a noble disciple gains concentration, gains one-pointedness of mind, having made release the object. This is called the faculty of concentration. Here, the Buddha, no mention of jhana. He didn't say it. So it would appear that one can experience samadhi without necessarily going into jhana. If you will see that here he talks about jhana, here he doesn't. If there were only one, then it is synonymous. But there are two. Why did he have two formulations if it were only one? The fact that there is this other version, therefore implies that it is a big question on the question of synonymity. Okay, I'm going to offer a view on why this is so. It may have to do with the adjective Samma Samadhi or just plain Samadhi in the previous case. Let me show you again. Here he says Samma Samadhi. Here he says faculty of concentration. Okay? What is the significance of the word Samma Samadhi? What's the significance of this? The first time he talked about Samma Samadhi was in a sutta delivered to a group of monks he was trying to guide towards enlightenment. And we're talking about the Arahata path, becoming Arahants. This was Samma Samadhi was one of the factors in the Eightfold Path. A reasonable postulation is perhaps when we are talking about Nibbana, meaning Arahata, then you will need concentration so deep as to go into the jhanas. If you are talking about just simple focusing the mind, concentration, just concentration meditation, perhaps if you don't hit jhana, it doesn't mean you are not in concentration. Jhana requires a little bit more, the sharpness, the clarity, it's basically telling, when you say jhana, it basically means that the mind has hit a state of concentration so still, there's a lot of energy generated there. Very still, a lot of energy generated there. But you know, a normal day when you are reading a book, when you're studying, you are in some kind of a concentration. No? If you're not in some kind of concentration, how come at the end of the extensive period of reading, you get a headache. The headache is partly because of the level of deep concentration that you get into while you're studying. So you can go into concentration, you can be focusing attention, you can be quite focused without being in jhana, in other words. Now, this we say you need jhana for nibbana. But what if it's just stream entry? This one I'll answer you later. Not the next slide. Next slide, we're going to talk about jhanas first, okay? What is jhana? Access to insight, I'm sure many of you have checked out this website. I like this particular definition. Jhana is a meditative state of profound stillness and concentration in which the mind becomes fully immersed and absorbed in the chosen object of attention. I like this definition because it's precisely this. Jhana is precisely this. It captures it beautifully, succinctly, sharply. Okay? But there is a problem. Problem is, you can intellectually, conceptually understand the idea. But ultimately, for the individual meditator, how do you know you're in jhana? Because it ultimately is a personal experience, and you have to make your own call on your state of mind, and you have no benchmarks. You have nothing to compare to. All you know is something is happening in the mind and it's focusing. And when it is just purely focusing and concentrating, it sometimes is very difficult for individuals to make judgment on, look, the following thing. What is profound stillness? How do you know when it is profound? You know it is still, but to a point of profound, the adjective is a problem. What do you mean by fully immersed? Is there a halfly immersed? Quarterly immersed? I don't know how to make that call for someone who's new to this game, okay? And to be absorbed is a verb. How do we know it is good enough? So very difficult. I honestly can't tell you whether what you are experiencing is jhana. I can only share with you what the Buddha had taught and what the meditators are saying, okay? So whether or not you have hit jhana, it's still a personal assessment. Now, what I'm going to do is to share with you the Buddha's explanation on what is jhana. Buddha explained it in 3 ways. These 3 ways will then be your clue, what you can use to assess your own meditation experience. What's not there? What's there? How does it feel like? Easy enough, okay? What's not there? Buddha said the nivaranas are not there. What are the nivaranas? The hindrances. We've mentioned this many times before. We're going to repeat, broadcast them all. Buddha said the nivaranas, the hindrances are not there. The first of the hindrances is something called kamachanda. Kamachanda, chanda, the word chanda means desire, wanting. The word kama means sense organs, okay? Your eye, your visual experience, the audio experience, the taste, tactile, and so on. Sense desires. What it means is, if you say you are experiencing some kind of jhana, your mind should not be thinking of food. Mind not distracted by and caught up with external objects. A mind closes in around the meditative object and is focused within. If your mind gets distracted by sound, because when you're sitting, I'm assuming your eyes are closed, so the only thing that could disturb you would be the sound. You shouldn't be chewing anything. Maybe smell may disturb you, but the sound is the one that is likely to disturb you. If you find yourself constantly chasing after the sound outside, you're not in jhana. Okay? That's one way of knowing. But then that, if you're not being drawn by the sound outside, you might not be in jhana either. You just know that if you are chasing the sound, you're not in jhana. Okay? And your mind is concentrated on the object you choose for concentration meditation that day. Okay? Second, no veyapada. Veyapada, ill will. The word ill will is a more generic word for a negative state of mind, a mind in aversion. We may not be that familiar, but the reality is your mind actually has many states of unhappiness, many states. Not just one intense one, it can be very mild. Not even when it is mild. There is no negativity, which then makes the mind happy. That is why when I describe that state of mind, I said your mind will be light and happy. The mind has no veyapada. It is positive to happy in the mood spectrometer. And once your concentration is established, the mind is light, happy, kindly. If you tell me that I have gone into meditation and I'm really good at it, and I experience jhana, but I don't feel happy, no lah. I can assure you not jhana lah. Jhana, you will be happy. However short that delight is, you will be. Okay? There is no heavy, sluggish energy. So the word that Buddha used, tina midda. If no tina midda, the mind must be alert, energized. At the same time, the energy shouldn't be spinning fast. It shouldn't be going crazy. If you are worried, if you're restless, your mind cannot settle on an object, you can't go into jhana. This means that the mind will become calm and quiet at some point. And finally, the mind has no vicikiccha. Vicikiccha is a state of doubt, uncertainty, confusion. Therefore, in a state of jhana, the mind is confident, it's assured. For those of you who are regular meditators, you will know that this is exactly how your mind feels, right? Surely there are some of you here. So modest you are. Okay, so the nivaranas are not there. And what is there? What's there? Jhanic factors. And these are mental states. Jhanic factors, the factors are mental states, okay? Which means to say that, I'm now changing the word here. Vitaka, vichara. Okay, what does this mean? When you sit and you are trying to get the mind into the state of concentration, there will be an initial period where the mind needs to make effort to stay put, to stay still. At the period when you are trying to get your mind to stay still and stabilize, that period you actually will be making choices. Stay there. You need to know what the mind is doing and make a judgment call on telling the attention, stay on the object. And you will keep doing that. Okay? So you tell the mind, the concentration, to stay put, to stay there. And if you are not careful, it will drift. So you are mastering energy to tell the mind to focus on the object. That effort of telling the mind to stay put is vitaka. It's vitaka. And it's not done blindly. It is not done with ignorance. You can't tell me I don't know what I'm doing. You know what you are doing. You are making a deliberate choice. And you, in your mind, you even know this is the right thing to do. So in that sense, the mind is activated. Not logic, but intelligence is activated. Okay? I'm putting you there, I'm holding you there, I'm not letting you run around. So what is vichara? Is knowing, there's a knowing, I'm putting you there and I'm not letting you drift off. So vitaka is put it there, vichara is hold it there. When you can do this, the sense of delight, pleasure will arise. The sense of delight and the sense of pleasure will arise. You look at all these, if you are successful in holding it there, the pleasure should come out, the delight should come out quite fast. Whether it can stay there, and how long it can stay there depends on how clear your mind is, how sharp, how energized. Now, some of you, you have gone for some meditation and then you are taught to use the word Buddho. Breathe in or breathe out? Whereas I don't use this method. Breathe in, Bud, is it? Breathe out, Do. Okay. And then you may, after some period of practice, decide to dispense with Buddho. Just hold on the breath. You can. But there is a reason why they attach a word to the breath. When you put energy on holding, you actually have to keep putting energy. You have to keep concentrating. The moment you let go and it's not stable yet, it will drift. You understand? So the teachers who give you something to hold the mind in place by using words is actually quite skillful. They are teaching you to use words to lock it in place. That's your vitaka vichara. Some of you, if you are not very skillful yet, but you think you are, so you let go of the Buddho, because Buddho like no so standard, huh? So Buddho, no standard. So you let go, right? Well, you find yourself doing this. You may find yourself suddenly falling asleep in your meditation. Once upon a time, when you're Buddhoing away, you don't sleep. But now that you stop Buddhoing, you sleep. Why? Because you have lost the vitaka vichara. You didn't do it enough. Buddha taught his monks to use clarity of mind, and Buddha used even more words. He actually said, know the breath, know your breathing in, know it's shallow or long. I'll show you all afterwards. So there are many words there. And he said, are we thinking? You're not thinking. You're not thinking, okay? You are thinking is when you thought construct levels after levels after levels, and you go into your AYE, off track here, left, right, turn all over the place. That's thinking. This is not thinking per se. It's the initial bit of thinking, as in you put your mind there and you hold it there. But you don't go into the details. You don't go into elaboration. So it's only an initial part. You're using that skill to do it. Okay? And this is necessary. If you don't do this, you will drift. And if you don't do, and you're not good enough, you will drift to bed, upright. Okay? What else are there? At some point, this need, this effort, this energy that you keep placing, you don't have to do it anymore because the mind stabilizes. It stays still. And then comes this tool that will pop up. Confidence and a mind coming together and locking on an object. This is singleness of mind. The mind, the concentration, the attention coming together and locking on an object. And it continues to be pleasure, delight, and happiness. Okay? You're feeling good. Which is why if you do meditation very well, it can be a habit. I don't want to use the word addictive, but it's a habit. It becomes a good habit. And you must do it. And it's like people who exercise, right? They produce a lot of endorphin and must go back to the exercise. Who kills themselves a marathon, but they do lah. They love it. Huh? Same thing. If you do your meditation and you start to experience all these wonderful sensations, you may develop a certain attachment to meditation. Okay? You may. But if you must be attached to something, you must be attached to meditation, right? At some point, the piti is a stronger form of pleasure. Very strong. Bodily sensations, it starts to calm down. You would feel tranquil. You would feel calm. And this is when you become more equanimous. And note the word, Buddha's word. There's mindfulness and you're fully aware. It didn't say, and you are half asleep. This is fully aware. So no, jhana taught by the Buddha is not black hole, not asleep. Okay? Finally, this is different levels. Then you say, yeah, but there are different levels. Yes, there are different levels. But right at the start, if you're very new to it, be familiar with these guys. And then if you're really good at it, you'll know that you become detached. Okay? You will start to let go of pleasure and pain. You start to not hold on to pleasure. The mind knows how to let go. Okay, how does being in jhana feel like? I'm going to use the Buddha's words, not meditators' words. This is the Buddha's words, okay? And he explained it by way of analogies. So you got to imagine, because analogies requires you to exercise your empathy to the words, to the pictures that the Buddha paint. Okay? There's a sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, Kaya Gata Sati Sutta, and the Buddha talk about this. This is what we said earlier on, remember? I said up to here. A bhikkhu enters a pond, abides in the first jhana, which is accompanied by vitakka, vichara, piti, sukha. Okay? Then he makes the rapture and pleasure drench, steep, fill, pervade, so that no part of him is not covered by the piti and pleasure. And the analogy he used, like a skilled buff man heaps buff powder in a metal base. You can use plastic, it's okay. Buddhist time, no plastic. Sprinkling it gradually, watch, sprinkling gradually, kneads until the moisture wets his ball of buff powder, soaks, pervades, yet the ball itself does not ooze. What does this image tell you? What is the sensation here? What's your feeling when you read this? How do you feel when you read this? The mind is scattered. In other words, when you set off buff powder, your mind is scattered all over the place. You are supposed to bring it together. So you put a bit of a water, which is your effort, and then you start to knead. For those of you who have not made bread, cake, whatever, do it tonight. You start to knead. You start to gently, and it's a balance. You overdo it, chui. You don't overdo it, you do it just right, it will hold. So from a mind that is all scattered, you're bringing it together into a dough. So in the same way, trying to get into the first jhana, you have to keep locking your mind again and again, like you're kneading a dough, locking the mind on an object and keeping it there. Again and again, you nail. And but you have to do it with skill and balance. Don't over concentrate. Actually, when you over concentrate, you can fall asleep. Or you can become too restless, either or. Have you tried You know, sometimes you go home, you're not very good, you're not in a very good frame of mind, and you say, okay, I'm going to sit, and then you try very hard to focus your mind on the object. After a while, all you get is despair and agitation. That can also happen. That means you're overdoing it. You know what you should do at that point? Relax, yes. Go out for a run. Go for a walk, actually. Go for a walk, work out your excess energy. So the idea here is balance. Skill, balance, effort. And you have to keep doing it until the mind comes together. Okay? Another example. This is just examples. Huh? Once the mind stabilizes into a state, meaning it comes together, then it feels like just as though there were a lake whose water well up from beneath, had no inflow and would not be replenished from time to time by showers of rain, then the cool fount of water welling up in the lake would make the water. The idea here is your mind stabilizes, it becomes self-sustaining. From within, the energy of concentration comes up. And water is cooling, it pervades every single pause in the mind. Very still, very quiet, stabilizes, doesn't drift. You don't even, because it's coming in from within, you are not fighting to keep it there. It should come spontaneously. It feels like something is within you, keeping the stillness intact. And you don't have to try very hard. It's coming in from within.